Hello everybody, it's Tim again. We're here with another movie review. A little late on this one. This one's been out for a while, but this is Sony's Into the Spiderverse. I just want to say, I'd give this film a 4 out of 4 stars. This was an amazing film, and in my opinion, the best Spider-Man film out of all the Spider-Man films. Easily better than Homecoming. Yes, I like it better than the first two Tobey Maguire ones, and a hell of a lot better than Spider-Man 3. This is easily the best Spider-Man film. I highly recommend this film. 4 out of 4 stars. The animation is amazing. I love it. At certain times, it really reminded me of stop-motion animation. I will say the movie is not flawless, though. There are problems here. The first, kind of half of the movie, not the first half, but kind of the first half of the first act was moving pretty fast, pace-wise. It felt like they were trying to hurry up and rush to get the story going a little bit, and that did take me out of the movie a little bit. Pretty much this movie's about, it takes place in an alternate reality or alternate dimension or whatever with a different version of Spider-Man who is Miles Morales. This is pretty much his origin story of how he becomes the Spider-Man of this place. He's pretty much out and about, and he's this kid, and he has the potential to be an incredible achiever, but he at the same time, he wants to just be kind of average at his heart. He just wants to be like everybody else and just blend in with the people he likes. He doesn't want to go to the fancy schools and stuff, but he has the potential to be so much more. So that's pretty much the setup there. It's kind of like their way of getting that in there. With great power comes great responsibility type thing. And then later on in the movie, he's actually getting ready to say that, and this other version of Spider-Man looks at him and says, "Don't you dare say that." And that was really funny because there's been so many Spider-Man movies by now that it was just funny that he was actually calling it out. Don't say it. And there's already a version of Spider-Man here in where Miles Morales is. If you don't know who Miles Morales is, he actually has his own comic book series. This is the first time he's ever had a movie, be it an animated one, regardless. But yeah, and there's already a Spider-Man here, Peter Parker, and he gets in the fight with the Kingpin. And in this world, the Green Goblin here is like this giant dragon creature, which I thought was really cool. I don't know if this is from any of the Spider-Man comics. I've never seen this version of Green Goblin before, but he's pretty freaking awesome. He gets in a fight with him, and he's working with the Kingpin along with this other guy named the Prowler, who is also working with the Kingpin. And the Kingpin is trying to get this device working so he can open up all these alternate dimension portals so he can get his family back, because one day he was fighting Spider-Man, his wife and child walked in, they freaked out because, they saw what a monster he was, and they ran off, and they end up getting a car wreck and dying, which is incredibly sad and really emotionally impactful for an animated film. You don't see that a lot in animated flicks, that kind of emotion. At least not in most animated flicks. Like the high-quality Pixar stuff, you do get it, but it's surprising that it's here. And so he wants to do that to try to get his family back, so he's a sympathetic villain, so you get where the dude's coming from. But it's going to destroy, all reality. It's all going to cave in on itself, but he's just, he's lost it. He's so obsessed with wanting to get his family back because of the heartbreak of it. He can't... He's not functioning right anymore. But anyway, the Kingpin here, animated-wise, it's like this huge body and this tiny little tater-tot head. It kind of reminded me of, if you've ever watched Puppet Master, and you know the character of Pinhead with a little tiny head and a huge body, it's almost identical here. But yeah, I love the way he looked. I love the animation of this. It is great. It's a really cool mixture of almost like a stop-motion look with a lot of anime style. It's just really awesome. And eventually, pretty much, the Spider-Man ends up stopping him, but at the same time, he ends up getting severely injured, and Kingpin kills him, but right before he dies, he's talking to Miles Morales, who just happens to be there, and he gives him this chip device that works the machine and tells him to take it, and he makes him promise him that he'll take it, and he does. And he takes off, and then you see Spider-Man get killed, and they have this big funeral for him, and it's like, Peter Parker was Spider-Man, now everybody knows, and the Mary Jane of that place or whatever is there, and talking about how awesome he was, and here's a big crowd of people with all Spider-Man masks on, and Miles Morales is there with his Spider-Man mask on, and he thinks that her speech is directly directed at him, and this guy standing next to him is like, I don't think she's actually talking to you. I think it's just a metaphor. That was really funny. Really clever writing here. But then later on in the film, you find out that all that the experiment that the Kingpin did with the devices to open up all the dimensions had caused a malfunction, and all these alternate versions of Spider-Man who are all worthy of their own film show up. And one twist I didn't see coming, there's this girl named Gwenda or whatever, however she says her name. Later on, you find out she's Spider-Gwen, who had actually, I believe, a limited comic series, who I don't know if fans liked that one or hated it. I haven't actually read it. I'll be honest, I know a lot about Spider-Man in terms of like what I've seen from the cliff notes of the comics and the animated series. Like, I love the Fox Kids Spider-Man animated series, and of course, I've seen all the movies and Spectacular Spider-Man, stuff like that. But I don't know much about Spider-Gwen. I know she had like a limited run series, I believe. But she's here, and at first she's just like this blonde-haired girl, like kind of punk girl with a piercing, who's at school, and Miles Morales has like a crush on her. And then later on, you get a twist and find out she's actually one of the Spider people too. You know, Spider-Man, well, Spider-Woman. But yeah, she's Spider-Gwen. And there's also, in this universe, there's a female version of Dr. Octavius who is working for the Kingpin, which is really interesting. But one problem I had is I didn't really get the idea of why she's working with the Kingpin. Is it just because she just wants to get paid, and she just wants to create the device just to see what it does? It never really dives into like why is she really working with the Kingpin to do this. I mean, that was kind of a plot problem for me. I would have liked a little bit more information on her character. Is she just into this kind of stuff? Is she just crazy? Does she just not care? Is it just an experiment for her? Does she just want to see what happens? I mean, I don't know. I just would have liked a little bit more to her character, and she's pretty much a badass here. And there's this like middle-aged Spider-Man with a gut that shows up, and he's my favorite. He's actually my favorite Spider-Man out of the movie. He shows up and he's talking with Miles Morales, and Miles Morales is like, you got to show me the ropes. You got to teach me how to be a Spider-Man. Of course, Miles Morales was bitten by a radioactive spider in his universe, and now he's got Spider-Man powers too, and he's wanting this guy to coach him, and he's already met regular Spider-Man. That Spider-Man died before he could really teach him how to be, you know, a Spider-Man. And he's wanting this guy to do it, and he just keeps blowing him off. It's just really funny because all through the movie, like, he keeps showing up, and they're like, Spider-Man? They're like, you kind of look a little different. You put on some weight. This is like a running joke. How people keep pointing out his weight, even the bad guys, and it's pretty funny. And he was my favorite of the Spider-Mans. I'm not sure. I forgot who voiced him in the movie, but the guy did a great job. I'm not for sure who it was. I forgot. I know somebody might put it in the comments down below. If you know who it is, put it in the comments down below. I know it's a famous actor, but I just forgot who it was. But the guy did a great job. All the voice acting in this is great. And, okay, one thing leads to another. The device that Miles Morales had ended up getting broken, so they have to go to the Kingpin's place and steal another one. And while they're there, that's when they end up getting in a fight with the female octopus, Octavius. And that's when Spider-Gwen shows up, and you find out it's the blonde-haired punk girl, and she's really cool and has some badass moves. And then later on, they go to... they end up getting the device and getting away, and they go to the Aunt May of this universe, and it's like this really cool Aunt May who has this friggin' like shed, but with this leads into like a Spider-Man bat cave with all these alternate outfits that the Spider-Man of this universe had, and one of them has a cape on it, and Miles Morales is like, see, look, a cape, because earlier in the film he was talking to the middle-aged Spider-Man or whatever, and he was like, he had a cape on his outfit, and he was like, I like, and the middle-aged dude was like, why do you have a cape? And he was like, I think it looks cool, and he's like, Spider-Man doesn't wear capes, and he yanks it off, and then later on he's like, see, look, I told you, Spider-Man wears capes. That was really funny. That was charming. And then all these other alternate versions of Spider-Man show up, and you find out that Aunt May has them all there, all these other ones that had already come there. And she's like, you guys think you're the only ones? And there's other ones there. You get friggin' Spider-Ham, which is a pig superhero version of Spider-Man from like a cartoon world. And you get this anime version of Spider-Man, who is this little like Japanese girl who's like Penny Parker. I believe she's supposed to be like the daughter of Peter Parker, and she has like her father's brain like put inside this mech suit, I believe, or his mind. And she has like a robot Spider-Man type mech suit. That was really cool. All these characters could easily have their own film. And then you got Nicolas Cage, baby, as the voice of Spider-Man Noir. My second favorite one of the Spider-Man team members, Spider-Man Noir, voiced by Nicolas Cage. He's hilarious because he's like trying to coach Miles Morales to see how good he is, and he's like, you gotta be really good. You gotta anticipate you gotta be good in the fight, kid. And he's like, surprise attack, and he just keeps punching him in the face. And like when he gets up, he just like gets up again, and he just looks at him and like surprise attack, and just keeps hitting him over and over. It's just a really funny scene. I can't do it justice, but the way Nicolas Cage plays it is friggin' hilarious. And he has this a Rubik's cube that he finds, and it just like blows his mind because he doesn't have anything like that from his noir world because there's like no color there. It's all like black and white, and gray. And he ends up taking it with him at the end of the movie when he goes back to his own dimension, which is freaking hilarious. So they want to put the device in the machine to send everybody back to their own dimension and to fix the dimensional warping that's going on that was caused by the device that Kingpin, because Kingpin used it when he shouldn't have. And they go there, and Miles Morales, he ends up finally finding the courage, within himself. The typical hero's journey. One of the problems I will say with this film is that I really wanted more of a team movie. Like the rest of the half of the team doesn't show up to about over halfway through the movie. And I get why, because what this film really is Miles Morales, the movie. It's called Spiderverse, but this is really Miles Morales, the movie. He's the star here. It's really a big origin story for his character, leading up to him becoming the only Spider-Man of this universe. But I really wanted more of the team, and that's why I'm really hoping this does good enough to get a sequel, because it deserves it, so we can get more of the Spider-Man team. Just like all these characters back again in just a big team unit. And what's really cool about the movie is each time a new Spider-Man shows up, it like flips and shows a comic, and it like opens up the comic, and you get to see their origin story, and then it like shuts down. And after Miles Morales becomes finally complete as his Spider-Man, Miles Morales comic falls down, and that was really cool with the others. One thing I will say, this movie made me about to start crying like a little bitch at one point, because Stan Lee recently passed away. And anybody who's a comic book fan knows about Stan Lee passing away. And there's a cameo by Stan Lee in this movie where when Miles Morales goes to get him a Spider-Man costume for the Spider-Man like parade where everybody's at to honor Spider-Man who died in this universe, and Stan Lee is there, and he's like, what if the costume doesn't fit? And Stan Lee's like, it always fits eventually. And he says something like, I knew, it's a shame about Spider-Man, I knew him, he was a friend. And it's really sad because the way he says it, makes you think about the loss of Stan Lee, and it almost made me, honestly, it made me get ready to cry, to be honest. It did. This was really sad. But after that, you get back to the end of the movie, like where I was going, and there's this other character named the Prowler who is working for the Kingpin as well, and you find out at the end he's actually Miles Morales' uncle, and you do kind of see it coming. It's because there's a scene where he goes into like Miles Morales' uncle's apartment, and as soon as he does that, you automatically know who it's going to be. If you know anything about movies, you know who it's going to be, character development-wise and plot structure-wise of a movie. If you follow that kind of stuff, you know it's going to end up being his uncle. But he turns out to be his uncle, and later on in the movie when he's fighting Miles Morales, he sees who it is, and he has a really cool relationship with him where he really loves, his nephew, and he finds out who he is. He doesn't want to hurt him, and he lets him go, and that's when Kingpin shoots him and kills him. And then he's like ashamed of himself, and he's like talking to Miles, and he's like, you're the best of us. And Miles Morales' father in this is a cop. I don't know if it's that way in the comics, but it is here. And I believe on the cop's cell phone, when he was looking at different numbers and stuff like that, one of the names was Steve Ditko, I believe, as well, which was one of the guys responsible, I believe, for creating Spider-Man, or helping create Spider-Man along with Stan Lee. Are some of the best Spider-Man comics. And I also believe that he recently passed away as well, if I'm not mistaken. But, yeah, and so you get to the end, and it's the whole team there, and they get in the fight with the Kingpin. They're all whooping ass, and they all end up going back to their own universes, and the middle-aged Spider-Man wants to stay, but by then, Miles has accepted his place as this universe Spider-Man. His hero journey is complete, and he's like, I got this. And it's just a really cool, well-done scene for an animated movie, and he decides to let the kid, be the hero that he knows that this boy is capable of, and so he goes back to his own universe. And the middle-aged Spider-Man is, like, really sad because in his backstory, he hooked up with Mary Jane, but they wound up getting a divorce because he wasn't really wanting to have kids because he wasn't ready. He was scared to have kids. But now he's bonded with Miles Morales, so he can go back to his own dimension and fix his relationship now. So that's really heartwarming and a good arc for the character. So Miles Morales takes on the Kingpin. He finally ends up taking the Kingpin out, and you get to the end, which is really funny when he walks. Of course, the machine gets fixed. All the dimensions and everything are fixed again. It gets to the end. It's really funny, and he's in his own Spider-Man suit, and he like walks up to his dad, who's a cop. Of course, he doesn't know that his son's Spider-Man. And he's like, I love you. And he like gives him a hug. And he's like, okay, Spider-Man. That was really funny. And so pretty much the movie ends triumphantly with him like swinging around the city. And he's the new Spider-Man. And his suit was pretty cool looking. Because through the movie they make it a thing where a character point of Miles Morales is that he likes to do like, what do you call it? What's the word? Street art, I guess, where people who spray paint walls, stuff like that, and to be creative. And at the end of the movie, he like spray paints a Spider-Man suit when he takes one of the Spider-Man suits that the Spider-Man of that universe had in his Spider-Man cave, and spray paints it. Puts his own style to it, customizes it. And at the end of the movie, his outfit just looks really cool when he's swinging through the city. And it ends, and the ending battle like between Kingpin and all the different Spider-Man, and especially Miles Morales, is just filled with all these really cool like colors where it's trying to honor like anime and comic book style action at the same time and look at the same time, and it does a great job of blending them together. This has to win Best Animated Feature. If this does not win Best Animated Film, that is a crime. That is a crime. This is easily a 4-star out of 4 film. This is the best comic book movie of last year. This is the best. This is better than Aquaman. It's going to be better than Captain Marvel. I can tell from the trailers on that one. Unless that movie really surprises. It'll be better than Shazam as well, I think. But this easily is the best Spider-Man film for me. I really enjoy this. And I also think it's going to kick Spider-Man Homecoming Part 2's ass as well. Because that trailer, I saw it. It looked okay. It didn't look bad. It just looked okay. But I'm really trepidatious about that. Because the first one had some annoying SJW type stuff in there. And other than that, like the token fat sidekick kid was just kind of annoying. And I hate the version of Flash Thompson that they use in these movies. He's like psychotically obsessed with Peter Parker in those movies to the point where it's like almost like he has a gay crush on Peter Parker. And I have nothing against gay people, but it comes off like that. I'm like, dude, just admit you got a crush on Tom Holland, Peter Parker, and shut the hell up. That version of Flash Thompson annoys the hell out of me in those movies. Just from Spider-Man Homecoming just to the trailer of the second one, I just saw him in the trailer, and just the way he was acting was obnoxious as hell. I just wanted to punch him right in the friggin' face. But yeah, for this movie, this is excellent. Easily best Spider-Man film. Sony has knocked this one out of the park. It kicks Venom's ass as well, and I thought Venom was good. I enjoyed Venom. Not great, but Venom was like good. This, however, is great. I highly recommend it. I can't wait to catch this on Blu-ray. I really hope there's a sequel to this, and hell with it. Just go to a mass Spider-Man animated universe. This kicked ass, and I'll see you guys again on the next review.